Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai.
Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sanjavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is Sunday night's class on Tuesday night. This is what I had planned for the Sunday program. Jagadananda Pandit, personality, very unique personality from Gaura's Leela. This is just not specifically a painting of Jagadananda. It's a renunciate dressed in saffron. Jagadananda was a renunciate, lifelong renunciate. One of the interesting introductions to his personality and his view on life is from a book that he wrote, Prema Vivarta, Hidden Love. And Prabhupada writes about this book, anyone who hears about the loving exchanges between Jagadananda Pandit and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, or who reads Jagadananda's book, Prema Vivarta, can understand what love is. Moreover, he achieves ecstatic love for Krishna, a love of Krishna, or for Krishna. For their entire life, they were about the same age, and Jagadananda grew up with Caitanya Mahaprabhu, or Nimai Pandit, in Navadvip, and he was with him the whole way, the whole 48 years. Jagadananda Pandit was the Lord's constant companion in childhood. They sometimes appeared to fight over trifles, quarrels beginning from the very early boyhood days, but these quarrels were based on their affection for one another. Now, in this, I'm going to read a section from their childhood and their childhood quarrels. But the way that he starts the book, it's very conversational and very personal and very, like, he pretty much says, I don't care what people think of me. I'm going to write what I like. And, you know, he has a very personable style of writing, and profound at the same time, very lighthearted. So this is taken directly. He's just going to describe their childhood quarrels. He, Gadadhar Pandit, and Mahaprabhu grew up together in Navadvip. Once in our early boyhood days, we had a quarrel in school. Feeling very sad and hurt, I sat down on the bank of the Ganga in Mayapur and cried all day and night. My Lord, always the most merciful Master, came to me at the break of dawn with Gadadhar Pandit. He called out to me, Jagadananda, such anger is not at all good. Speak to us and forget your stubbornness. There's a ringback. Can something be done with the ringback? My anger melted just looking at his ecstatic face. Remember, he's been crying all night. Some quarrel during the day at school. And I asked him, why did you come in the darkness of the early morning? Nadia's roads are very hard and full of stones. It must have caused you great pain to walk on it. You have undertaken so much difficulty just for my sake. The Lord said, come, let us go. The night's ended. Go to your house and eat. I know the sadness you feel. I have also fasted all this while and slept on the stone floor. Gadadhar Pandit came to my house, so together we have come to search for you. It is good that you have given up your insolence. Now go to your house. Tomorrow we can joyfully play together again. Catching hold of Gadadhar's feet, I sat up slowly, for it was impossible for me to disregard my Lord's instructions. I then went to the Lord's house, ate a little, and lay down to rest for a few hours. In the morning, Mother Sachi and Jagannath Mishra fed me rice and milk and then sent me off to school with the Lord. After classes, I went to my home with the Lord, and sitting together we ate. The love one feels for the beloved after a quarrel is like pure nectar. And so I always felt intense ecstasy. The Lord said, it is because of ecstatic love that you and I get angry. Our love for each other continues to increase after every quarrel. And that's Jagadananda in a nutshell. And he grew up with the same personality and same conduct. And we're going to hear some more. Jagadananda Pandit was the Lord's constant companion in childhood, and he especially took part in all the pastimes of the Lord in the house of Srivas Pandit. Srivas Pandit, that's the kirtans at night. And Chandrasekhar Acharya, that's the drama that Chandrasekhar Acharya organized. The house of Chandrasekhar Acharya is today's headquarters of Bhaktisiddhanta, the Caitanya Mutt, of the 64 mutts. That was Bhaktisiddhanta's headquarters. And if you go there, someday you'll go there. Towards the front gate, there's different gates, but there's a gate people get access to the property from our side, from the ISKCON side. It's just from down the road. But then there's a main gate with a big arch and everything. And that is said, that's the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya. So Chandrasekhar Acharya had an important role in the childhood and youth pastimes of Mahaprabhu, or Nimai Pandit. And he was like an elder and an acharya. And so he envisioned, and so he organized and conducted, made a big stage, and Mahaprabhu performed a drama. He wrote the drama, he directed the drama, he was a player in the drama. And then he was enacting some very amazing things. So Jagadananda was part of that. He was with him, he's with him constantly in their childhood. In Krishna Lila, there's not a mix. He's Satyabhama. He always wanted to see to the comfort of Lord Chaitanya. But since the Lord was a sannyasi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't accept all the things that he offered, and then they have a quarrel over it. And you'll hear some of the examples. It's just very loving exchange. And he's had we'll hear shortly, a Vama nature. Here's a painting of Satyabhama speaking with Krishna in Dwarka, and she's pointing to the Parijata flower that Rukmini has, and she wants the Parijata tree. That's Satyabhama. Jagadananda was moody, being possessed of the Vamya nature. So, Vamya means whatever position Lord Chaitanya would take, he'd take that position. It has a contrary and moody nature, and it was out of love. He would repeatedly provoke loving arguments with the Lord. Somehow this is backwards. Lord Chaitanya enjoyed the humor of conjugal love with Gadadhar, Jagadananda, and Swarup Damodar. That was meant to be shown first. So those three, it's a mood of love. They're male bodies and male bodies, but the mood of love, with Lord Chaitanya being the object of their love was like that of Madhurya, very, very intimate and very sweet, loving exchanges. Gadadhar Pandit, Jagadananda, and Swarup Damodar. Aside from the childhood activities, then, the division of Mahaprabhu's life was 24 years and 24 years. Towards the end of the 24th year is when he accepted sannyas. And when he accepted sannyas, by tricks, Lord Nityananda redirected him, instead of going to Vrindavan, to go to what he said was the path that led him to Vrindavan. It led to Advaitacharya's home in Shantipur. And meanwhile, a messenger was sent to Sachi to meet your son. So she came, and she cooked for Lord Chaitanya. He stayed for several days at the house of Advaitacharya. And Sachi requested him, don't go to Vrindavan, go to Puri. So when Sachi requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to make Jagannath Puri Nilachala's headquarters, he granted his mother's request. On the journey, there were 5 people with him: Nityananda, Mukunda, Jagadananda, and Damodar Pandit. Actually, 4. Nityananda, Mukunda Datta, Jagadananda, and Damodar Pandit. So in the course of his travels, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entrusted his water pot and his danda to Jagadananda to carry. And when they reached a certain place it's just south of Bhubaneswar, it's described in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Mahaprabhu had given his danda to Jagadananda to carry as they walked, and that was every day. One day, Jagadananda gave the danda to Nityananda to hold as he went to collect alms, because he did services like that on behalf of Lord Caitanya. And Lord Caitanya, with the painting shows, he wanted to go on the other side of this little river and have darshan of some temples of Lord Shiva on the other side. There you see him walking along the path, and there you see Lord Nityananda breaking his danda. And there's another painting of Lord Nityananda breaking his danda. And there's a wonderful Leela where Lord Nityananda is having a discussion with the danda. Who do you think you are? My Lord doesn't need you, some sign of renunciation. He is the Supreme Lord. You have no place here. Threw it in the river. Lord Caitanya came back and joined the travel heading towards Puri. And then he came a little more to external consciousness and said, "Where's my danda?" And Jagadananda pointed to Nityananda. I was collecting alms, and he was entrusted with the danda. And Lord Nityananda didn't deny it. He said, it was my mistake. He said, you were in a swoon of ecstasy and you fell in the danda and it broke, so I threw it in the river. And then Lord Caitanya said, that's my only possession, my water pot and my danda, and I've trusted it to you, and you've destroyed it. So I don't want to travel with you anymore. So you go ahead, you go to Puri, and I'll travel alone. Or I'll go ahead, go to Puri, and you come later. Children. As long as we don't hear some crying or screaming, then I guess it's just an object and not a child. Okay, focus. Till we hear a scream. It was a pastime so that Mahaprabhu could enter Puri alone. Krishna planned his orchestrated his own pastimes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu orchestrated his pastimes in very puzzling ways. So he wanted to go to Puri alone. So it was part of his plan, but it's also an exchange with Lord Nityananda, could declare, his feelings towards Lord Caitanya. He doesn't get renunciation. He's the Supreme Lord. So he went alone to Jagannath Puri. They said, no, you go, we'll come later. So that's what happened. And when he entered the Jagannath temple, he's seeing Lord Jagannath, he went into a swoon of ecstasy, and running towards the altar, he fell to the ground unconscious. You see down at the bottom of this illustration, there's some guards with sticks, and they were going to toss him out. They thought he was, some wild person. And just at that time, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya just happened to come and saw this 24-year-old, beautiful young sannyasi lying on the floor at the Jagannath temple, and told the guards, don't harm him. I'll bring him to my home. So he was brought to his home, and several other things happened. Well, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a very learned person. The history is, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya previously was living with his brother, two very senior teachers, and both were teachers of students, because that's what brahmanas would do. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was such a super scholar that the king, Prataparudra, invited him, please come and be my chief Pandit in my kingdom. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya accepted the offer. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya knew everybody in Navadvip, but he's now in this position in Puri as the main teacher for thousands of renunciates. He was a very powerful person, very learned person. So when he made this request of the guards, immediately he was respected. And he wanted to examine this young sannyasi to see if he was faking. If it was really a swoon of ecstasy or just something else. You know the story. You know, anyone not know the story? You all know the story. Okay. He is lying, Mahaprabhu is lying down, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took some strands of cotton, like from fibers of cotton, and held them before his nostril, because if someone is in trance, the flow of air is not moving. This air is suspended. His air was suspended only very slightly. The strands of cotton fiber were moving, so he could understand it was a genuine ecstasy, genuine trance. So while he's doing all of this, the other party came, the other four, Jagadananda, Nityananda, Damodar Pandit. Fourth one, Swarup Damodar. Mukunda Datta, yes. Mukunda Datta, yes. Mukunda Datta. And so they asked, have you seen? They said, yes, we saw, and he's at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And so, because the focus is on Jagadananda, this was Jagadananda's first meeting. From this time, Jagadananda became very close associate of all the devotees in Puri, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in particular. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya volunteered to instruct Mahaprabhu in Vedanta Sutra so he could maintain his sannyas vows. You know the story. For 7 days, he instructed him, and Mahaprabhu just sat there like not saying anything, not indicating anything. So finally, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, you're not saying anything. You don't have any questions. There's no indication whether you understand or you don't understand. Do you understand? And then Mahaprabhu said, I certainly understand Vedanta Sutra, but as you're speaking, you're covering the meaning more and more. Oh, really? So if you understand the meaning, then you explain the meaning. And he explained the meaning in a manner that was so simple and so elegant that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, super scholar, was stunned. And so then the discussion moved on to the Atmarama verse, celebrated verse found within Srimad Bhagavatam. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, oh, could you please explain the Atmarama verse? Yes. I'll explain it in 24 different ways. So he explained in some number of different ways. And he said, can you now explain? So Mahaprabhu explained it's a whole chapter explaining in some other number, 64 different ways, the Atmarama verse. Hearing, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was super scholar, his access to transcendence was through his scholarship. Bahunam Jamanam Ante, Gyanavan Mam Prapajate, Vasudev Sarvamiti, Samahatma Sudurlabha. You're very patient, sitting through all this. You can follow the stories? Yeah? You know these stories already, right? Mostly? Yeah? Okay. So what happened next is Mahaprabhu was preparing Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to receive transcendental knowledge beyond the scholarship capacity that he already had, which was superlative. So through his scholarship capacity, which was superlative, he could understand, you're not just a learned sannyasi. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudev Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurlabha. Mahaprabhu smiled and then showed his Sadbhuja form, his six-armed form. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was amazed. We can only imagine. After seeing this Sadbhuja form of Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, super scholar, composed spontaneously 100 verses glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wrote them down spontaneously, writing, expressing his glorification of Mahaprabhu. He gave 2 of those verses to Jagadananda. Those 2 verses were taken by Jagadananda to show Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Fortunately, Mukunda Datta was there. He intercepted Jagadananda. He wrote the verses down on the side of Gambhira, knowing that Mahaprabhu would destroy the verses and we wouldn't have the verses anymore. So they were preserved that way by Mukunda Datta writing them down on the side of the Gambhira. And one of those verses, those two verses are found in Caitanya Caritamrita. I don't know exactly what this says. It's just a leaf that has writings. This is the celebrated verse. If you know the verse, you can say it with me. Vairagya vidya nija bhakti yoga shikshartam eka purushak puranam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari Kripam Budhir Yastam Aham Prapadye. Prabhupada referred to this verse again and again and again. Our acharyas refer to this verse again and again and again, because in one verse it's summarizing who is Lord Chaitanya and his teachings. So Vairagya means detachment. Vidya means knowledge. Vairagya Vidya, Nija means his own, Bhakti Yoga. So Lord Chaitanya taught, he gave bhakti, and through devotional service unto himself arose knowledge and detachment. Same as Bhagavatam verse. Who knows the Bhagavatam verse? The Vasudeva Bhagavati verse? Janiyati Ashru Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. Same, Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. So Vairagya and Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayoja Janiyati Ashru Vairagyam Jnanam. So here it says Vidya. So knowledge and detachment arising from his own service to devotional service unto himself. Shiksharta eka. Shiksharta shiksha. These are his teachings. Let me take shelter. That's the tam aham prapadye. Let me take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kripam Buddhi, the ocean of transcendental mercy, Sri Krishna, who has descended in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari, who descended in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach detachment, real knowledge, and his own devotional service. Very important verse. Very important verse. If you had, to list 10 important verses to know, to memorize and recite, and this is one of them. The other one is less known, but it's in Caitanya Caritamrita in the same section. Madhya Lila, chapter 6. You can look it up later, if you like. We heard already at length Jagadananda's involvement in the dealings with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami's wet itches. It was Jagadananda who advised Sanatana Goswami to go to Vrindavan, and in the standard loving way, lovingly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised Jagadananda, saying strong things. He's just a boy. What is he giving advice to such an exalted person as you? What nerve? He's violating etiquette. And Sanatana Goswami is right. There's a very confidential dealing between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Jagadananda. Sometime later, when Sanatana Goswami had returned to Vrindavan, Jagadananda, in one of his moods, one of his contrary moods, I want to go to Vrindavan, in a mood of like pouting. And Lord Chaitanya said, you can't go to Vrindavan in a mood like this. You can't go. I won't let you. You can't go. So eventually he went. He got over that mood, and Lord Chaitanya gave him permission, but gave him very strict instructions what to do, what not to do. And Jagadananda went, and when he went, he stayed with Sanatana Goswami. And when he was staying with Sanatana Goswami, because one of the things that Jagadananda was really good at was cooking. He liked to cook for Mahaprabhu. So he's in the presence of Sanatana Goswami in Vrindavan, and he notices that Sanatana Goswami is wearing a turban. And he just assumed, Sanatana Goswami, did you get that cloth from Mahaprabhu? Is that Mahaprabhu's remnants? And he said, no, he got it from some particular sannyasi, Mukunda Saraswati. And Jagadananda went into a rage. He took a frying pan and was going to smash Sanatana Goswami. How can you wear a turban that didn't come from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's some other sannyasi? How can you do that? You're completely dedicated. He checked himself. He didn't smash him. And Sanatana Goswami was so appreciative. Such love you have for Mahaprabhu. If only I had a drop of that love that you have for him, I'll take off the turban. Because of his moodiness, from time to time, he was given some special services. One of those special services was every year he went for some time to stay in Navadvip, taking items that were used by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The term that's used is parshadi, so some prasadam, some cloth that he had that was connected with his use, to give to Mother Sachi. And then would tell stories, Mahaprabhu this and that, and she would feel very satisfied. He would associate with all the devotees and so forth. There was some, we remember that example of Sachi would make offerings, and the offerings were missing, and she thought, I'm going crazy, maybe I have to cook again, I don't know what's going on. Jagadananda confirmed with Sachi when Mahaprabhu had come to eat those offerings. Avirbhav, remember that term? So she then, it got confirmed for her. Yes, he actually came. Now, he stayed, when he was in Navadvip, he stayed at the house of Shivananda Sain. See the connection, it's like big family. And while he was at the house of Shivananda Sain, for the last few weeks, every day, he worked on making some scented oil from sandalwood. And he gathered all the oil. I don't know how you make sandalwood oil from sandalwood, but he did. And he made a whole pot, a clay pot of sandalwood oil. And his plan was he would bring that clay pot back to Puri, give it to Govinda, and ask Govinda, his personal servant, to give it to Mahaprabhu. So he has some nice scented oil he can use after his bath. And Govinda didn't want to give it to him, but he didn't want to not give it to him either, so he could make Jagadananda upset. So he showed Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu scolded him, scolded Jagadananda. Jagadananda always wants me to have sense gratification. I'm a sannyasi, I can't use scented oil like this. Just take it to the Jagannath temple and they can put it in the lamps for Jagannath, and that would be nice. Good use of this scented oil. He didn't do that. He didn't want to upset Jagadananda. So he just sat there in a corner. And one day Jagadananda came and asked Govinda, has he used the oil? And Govinda said the truth. He said he told me to just take it to the Jagannath temple. I haven't done it yet, to use for the lamps for the deities. So Jagadananda came, picked up the pot, and as you see in the painting, he smashed it on the ground and the oil went spewing all over the place. Jagadananda went to his room and locked the door from the inside and wouldn't come out. And he fasted for days. He was pouting. Mahaprabhu was, sent some spies. What's up with Jagadananda? He's still fasting. So Mahaprabhu went to his room, knocked on the door. Jaga, I've been fasting since you broke that oil pot, and I'm very hungry. Can you please cook for me? And the explanation is, all this is described as prema vivarta. It's in from his perspective, the loving exchanges that they have with one another. And I couldn't refuse. So I quickly got up. I took my bath. I went and got the ingredients. And I made the wonderful feast. And I then informed Mahaprabhu, lunch is ready. And as Mahaprabhu was eating, as soon as he finished eating a little bit, he put some more. And as soon as he finished that more, he put some more. And eventually Mahaprabhu told him, stop. I can't get it anymore. Behave yourself. Such is the kind of loving exchange. Here's another nice example. Jagadananda, didn't like the idea that Mahaprabhu was sleeping on the stone floor. So he thought of making a little mat so he could lie on the mat. So he took cotton from a silk cotton tree and little fibers and stuffed it inside a plantain bark cover. And he gave it to poor Govinda. He gave it to Govinda. This is from Mahaprabhu. What? Jagadananda is always wanting me to do sense gratification. I'm a sannyasi. I can't use this. Give it away. So Swarup Damodar did something else. He took just the plantain bark itself, made a little something of plantain bark, and he slept on the plantain bark little mat instead of Jagadananda's mattress and pillow. So you get a picture of the personality and the loving dealings between Jagadananda. Very different, very, very unique. At the end, towards the end of this Prema Vivarta, there's a passage, it's one of my favorites, from Jagadananda, and this is the last slide. I, Jagadananda, humbly caution that if we do not develop single-mindedness in executing devotional service, then we place ourselves in the impossible task of trying to cross a river with 2 boats with a foot in each. Single-mindedness. It's a refrain in all of these pastimes. That where did Sanatana Goswami get the strength to endure the fire like burning hot sand of the beach? Or how did anybody do anything, in connection with Mahaprabhu? Or it's in Krishna Lila also. It's the single-mindedness. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. Or Maichananya yogena bhaktir abhyabhicharini. Same, single-mindedness in devotion. That's it's necessary to be successful in devotional service. So what happens if you put one foot in one boat, another foot in another boat, and you try to cross a river? You can end up in the river. Both feet in one boat. Single-mindedness. A lesson from Jagadananda. So in this Prema Vivarta, we get, more of a picture of his personality and the kind of love and, the contrary way, the moody way that he would conduct himself, and he didn't care about outsiders. His relationship with Mahaprabhu was his everything. And it was of a particular kind. Like Satyabhama in Krishna's Leela. So that's it for this evening. And it's it for our time together on personality from right. Nice topic. Nice topic. I can guess that many of you have learned a lot more about Mahaprabhu and his associates, and how wonderful the exchanges of love were. Now, we didn't so much focus on teachings, we focused on relationships and personalities. But through those personalities, they're acharya-like, so they teach us through their loving exchanges. And after all, it's not by scholarship, it's by bhakti that one can understand the higher truths of spiritual reality. It's a wonderful book, wonderful, wonderful literature. Caitanya Caritamrita. Okay, I think we're ready. We get signal that we're ready, huh? Any discussion? What was that big noise downstairs? I'm asking the owner of the house here.
There is a swing. Kids are playing and they bump the pillar.
Oh, okay. So the kids were okay, but the swing got... No problem. Okay. Discussion. You gotta go. Go, go, go.
Guru Maharaj, this topic on Jagadananda's pastime, it's very attractive, at the same time very bewildering every time when I hear.
It's unique. It's okay. Unique is more than okay. It's unique.
Yeah, for me, as I'm hearing again and again, I'm realizing my appreciation for different personalities, and Lord Chaitanya's affection and the reciprocation is actually increasing. Guru Maharaj, I just wanted to of course, it's completely transcendental nature, but on a materialistic level where we are, each of us have a very unique personality. And when we hear, as we are practicing devotional service, we need to cultivate mode of goodness. So I'm just contemplating on that. While we cannot completely negate or transform our personality, I don't want to use the word balance, but in that process of cultivating mode of goodness, how do we still keep our personalities and whatever strengths we get with that personality?
This is not the same, but it's similar to your question this morning. Yes? You heard his question this morning. You didn't hear. It's similar. Different, but similar. And his was more about swabhava, and yours is about personality. But they're not so worlds apart. There's our conditioned and there's our transcendental, both form and personality. And and our conditioned personality is very much influenced by guna and karma. It's like, the jacket you're wearing, that's not you. Or the sweater I'm wearing, it's not me. I've been wearing the same sweater because I travel. I don't have like a wardrobe with me. It doesn't work. So, my sweater, but it's not me. Through spiritual purification, then spiritual personality starts to become more prominent. And then it's not variable, it just becomes more prominent, whatever that is. So it's something for us to discover, but it's discoverable. I'm not directly responding to the nature of your question. I'm just speaking something little tangential from your question. But what we think our personality to be is a covering. It's not really what our personality is. Not really what our spiritual form and spiritual personality is. And that's something that will become accessible to us and revealed to us or manifest through the purification of relieving our misidentification with the coverings, including propensities, including personalities, including all the varieties of coverings. So meanwhile, back to, where we are right now, we have our nature. We want to move towards those qualities that are found in chapter 13 or 8 through, so, they're qualities or they're items of knowledge, because that's anyone has amanitvam, adambitvam, etc., which are like mode of goodness qualities, but when they become fixed, when they're transcendental qualities. And so what do we do in between is kind of what your question is. But, you have your nature, his question this morning, and we have our personality, which is your question this evening. And, we need to recognize as best we can what that nature and personality is, and be honest with ourselves and be honest with others, but also recognize that's not who eternally I am. But I act in this way because it's appropriate for my position. And my position is meant, as was discussed this morning, for purification. I accept my duties for my position because the duties for my position are meant for my purification. An example is coming to mind because I've been teaching it of late. plan to speak more about it. Sudama Brahman was a grahastha. When he came to visit Mahaprabhu in Dwarka, at the gentle encouragement of his good wife, Mahaprabhu asked him, first he worshipped him, and then he asked him, after you graduated, you gave Guru Dakshin to Sandipani Muni, did you get married? And he knew, so then he said, I know that you not only got married, but I also know that you have no attraction for material affairs. It wasn't like, why'd you get married if you have no attraction for material affairs? And then Prabhupada writes this very important understanding for grahasthas and renunciates both. That there are two, for those who are in this vairagya position, as grahasthas or as renunciates, there's two kinds. One kind is where there's just like a loathing for worldliness. And there's another where there's indifference. And the commentary explains, just like with Bali Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, because of their indifference, they were given abundance. Or Ambarish Maharaj or Yudhisthira Maharaj, abundance, but they weren't disturbed by it. And there are others, like Sudama, they just, they don't want it. And so the Lord doesn't give it to them because they don't want it. So he doesn't give it to them. And Krishna says that to Sudama. You haven't received because you don't like, but you're here because of your good wife. And he knew all this. So you're here just because of your good wife. He hadn't said he wanted anything. In fact, before he left, he didn't say, I want something. But the Lord knew. But the Lord, and it's just nice. It's just a loving reciprocation. The Lord considered, this is commentary, because he has this mood that he doesn't like, I'm not going to give him something here because it'll disturb his respectability and his mood. He'll do it later. Out of reciprocation of love. So, now, that's not his spiritual form and his spiritual identity, but he had a propensity that Krishna, in the case of Sudama, reciprocated with, which was he didn't, before he came, he didn't want, he didn't get. But then he got, because his wife wanted. But he continued to live his life with the exact same austerity and standards that he had before he had this opulence, because he liked. He slept on the bare floor, and he kept, simple cloth, and he didn't live. He just didn't accept it. So, back to your question about personality specifically. Our nature will become revealed, our spiritual nature will become revealed to us in the course of time. And it's meant for us to become aware of during this lifetime. No, it's not, it's not snap your fingers and, okay, now I want it and there it is. But it's meant to be realized. Then you've probably seen, I've seen how personalities of devotees, personalities have some shift in the course. And their transcendentalness becomes more evident as they become spiritually matured. And some devotees, spiritually mature devotees are like this, and some are like that. it evolves. Is that clear?
Guru Maharaj. So the slide that we are seeing on the TV, so it says one who is trying to cross the river with one leg or one foot on each boat. So I'm trying to compare that to a devotee who is in the beginning stage, a neophyte or even beginner. So one, on the one hand, trying to enjoy the material sense gratification, and another hand, there is a taste of devotional service. So now I have seen at least one or two people or persons who's practicing this. They were not ready to quickly give up the material sense gratification and come to this side. That could be due to the fear of something losing, or maybe they're not sure or no faith, but they have a little taste that this is what it is good for me, and they are trying to practice it too. But my question is, how in such a situation, how can I answer or best possibly handle that situation, how so that they don't lose faith in this?
Acceptance. Let them know that Krishna accepts them. Let them know that, like as the representative of Krishna, you accept them. And they should accept themselves. So how to help someone, a lot depends on where they are in their spiritual evolution. Prabhupada was with people that didn't have control of the senses. And he didn't judge them, and they didn't feel judged. That's how to help them. Be instrument of Krishna or representative of Krishna, where Krishna's not judging, you're not judging, they don't feel judged. Krishna's accepting, you're accepting, they feel accepted. And at the same time encouraging them to grow. According to their capacity and circumstance. And it's simple visual, Prabhupada calls it fanning the spark. Morning walk in Vrindavan. Prabhupada made that. He said, preaching means you find a spark and you fan the spark. That's preaching. Not too much, because you might extinguish the spark. Not too little. So you have to be conscientious of the capacity of the spark. And that's preaching. And then expert preaching takes the spark, it becomes a flame, becomes a big blaze. I could tell. You want to bring the microphone? Let him. He's got some service to do. He likes. You're so peaceful. The nice quality. I like. Go ahead.
This is a little off topic. Is that okay?
Off topic. I'm used to it. We've had lots of nice time on this topic. See if we can come up with one on this topic.
Yeah. So today's Bhagavatam class, the one which you read the verse on the creation aspect, Prajapati. So I was hearing few from the 6th canto, between the Prajapati, Daksha having 11,000 children, 10,000, 1,000, Haryashvas and
Sabalashva.
Savalashvas. And Narada Muni comes and he does his duty of, diverting them and liberating them. So I was thinking, previous, when you came many times from the Brahmas, from Lord Brahma's prayers or something, Sthane, wherever you are, you be there and practice Krishna consciousness, right? Whether you are a Grahastha or whichever Varnashrama you are, you can practice. So I was thinking about that particular pastime of Prajapati and Narada. Prajapati is doing his duty because it is coming from Lord Brahma. That's a request from Lord Brahma and he is doing it. But Narada is doing his duty of diverting that. Right? So there's basically a conflict there. And why is Narada targeting them only? That's the question. And then if I look at the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, he never said.
Why is he targeting?
Yes. Yeah. And then if I look at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, he never said that to become sannyasi or, leave everything or anything. And he's actually, if I look at all the pastimes, all of them are grahasthas.
No.
Most of them, right?
Well, he gave specific instructions to specific persons to not marry.
Only few, not everyone.
He gave specific instructions to Gopal Bhatta. He gave specific instructions to Raghunath Bhatta. Don't get married. And they didn't. They didn't get married. He didn't give instruction to Swarup Damodar nor to Jagadananda to not marry, but they just followed him. Some just followed, some he gave explicit instruction to. It's not like they couldn't do it unless he gave the explicit instruction, but he took away the question mark if there was a question mark. And they just followed his instruction.
So going forward in ISKCON, Prabhupada, did he insisted everybody to become the brahmachari and sannyasis, or is it okay to become grahasthas? It's like a...
Well, of course, he married his disciples.
yeah.
So why are you asking that question?
No, what I mean...
Why are you asking the question?
Why am I asking is, Narada Muni is liberating everyone. Hey, don't even get married. Don't even get into the grahastha ashram.
But part of a Prajapati's duty is to provide sannyasis. And Narada was using his barometer to saying, did they fit in this or that category? He examined them, and they flying colors. And he had the acumen to see, but he also examined before he just did. There are certain disciples that Prabhupada instantly, it indicated their sannyas status. One came previously from a grahastha background, another hadn't, and he just he understood their nature. So
No, I was thinking.
you have an ISKCON question. You have an ISKCON question, but you also have the question: on what basis did Narada do his selection? Well, they were qualified. He didn't single them out. He had some sense, whatever that capacity Narada has to do what Narada does. He understood, but he also tested, and how they responded confirmed what he understood about them, and then he gave the instruction. And it was only the pride of Prajapati Daksha, or the attachment of Prajapati Daksha, that caused him to flip out and curse Narada. Because the Prajapatis produce renunciates as well as grahasthas. They produce everything. They produced all species, what to speak of ashrams. So he had his idea. what his duty was. And not respecting Narada's duty that was not in conflict with his duty. He was enabling or facilitating Narada to do his duty, or part of his duty. So I don't. Maybe your problem is solved. Is your problem solved now? Not exactly. I can tell from the expression on your face. There's the philosophical and there's the practical. The philosophical it's no problem. The problem was Daksha's pride. That was the problem. And and then the practical thing is persons are to be examined as a qualified person examines and indicates that's a guru function. Specifically, a nice verse for you to read, one that I like that addresses your question. When Grandfather Bhishma is describing how children are trained, Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse number something or other. Krishna, look it up. The verse where Bhishma Dev is instructing Yudhisthira about the training of children in Gurukul. So one of the last paragraph, the Guru has children in the school, and he's training them all in character. And he's also examining what's their nature. So according to their nature, he's encouraging them to study this kind of activity and others that kind of ashram. Because he lives with them and he's a qualified person. So everyone gets character. If you go to, to a good teacher, that's the first thing for everybody. And then according to their capacity, a qualified teacher, they don't need, departments of education because he's it. He knows how to train them in this and how to train them in that. And if he doesn't, then he sends them to one who does. Like they were sent to Drona, because he had this capacity to teach certain things. So, okay, he's unconfused at least. Okay, anything else?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can same thing after topic.
I'm ready.
We are reading Canto 6, Chapter 9, and 11, Vritasura's 5 times. So there are two questions, Maharaj. One is...
It's Chapter 9, not Chapter 8 of Canto. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So I think it is not Chapter 9.
Which canto?
6th Canto.
6th Canto, Chapter 9.
When...
we got these Bhagavatam reading groups. That's good. It's good to have questions.
Yes, Maharaj.
There's something missing if you don't have questions.
Yeah, we could not understand. Prabhupada did not give purport, so that's why I'm asking.
Okay, go ahead.
So, when Indra lost his kingdom because he offended his spiritual master, they tried to go and offer prayers to Lord Vishnu, and he manifested in his heart and comes out. They are doing a prayers. In one of the verse, the word in Sanskrit is used Trinayana, and Prabhupada translate that as a three-eyed Lord Narasimhadev. So I never heard Narasimhadev has three-eyed. He's Swarat, he can do whatever he wants, but I was wondering, what is this three-eyed Narasimhadev?
I never heard of it either.
Yeah. That was we were discussing.
That came out in your reading group?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the answer. But have you gone to the commentaries of our Acharya?
No, I don't have the access to those, but I was wondering, is there any...
There are digital versions available.
Okay. I'll look into that. I searched at Google, but Google Acharya did not give any information. I'm sorry. So I want to see what is the three-eyed Narasimhadev looks like. I know Lord Shiva looks like, just trying to imagine, but anyway.
I'll tell you what. You, before I go, you give me the verse number, not right now, because I'm not going to remember it. Write it down, give me the verse number, and I'll look up to see if the commentators have something to say on it.
Sure, man.
It'll take about 3 minutes, and I'll send you I'll sell the answer to Amrita Kelly, and she can circulate it to everybody.
9:40.
You tell her,
Yes.
not me,
Sure.
because I won't remember. I'm
We'll
not
do
sure,
that.
Tidar.
Second question.
So you don't need it now. Just give it to Baba. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So the second question is.
Second question.
Yes, Madam. The same context, when we are connecting the chapters, Indra loses kingdom, all appearances, because he offended his
Yeah.
guru.
Forget it.
Nobody accepts that. We understand. That is very easy to understand.
Good.
You offend somebody, you lose. Krishna takes away everything. And in subsequent chapters, like next chapter, Narayan Kavacha happens. He gets that information from Vishwarup.
Right.
And he kills him, and Vrittasura quotes him as your spiritual master. You killed your spiritual master, so we are confused.
Why?
You offend a spiritual master, you lose everything. Now you kill your spiritual master, you get everything back. So we could not understand. So if you can throw some light where we are missing the dots.
I don't think you're missing. I think you got it right. But, fortunately, although Indra gets, carried away from time to time and does bad stuff, nonetheless, Lord Vishnu is very kind. He recognizes the deeper side of Indra's character and how, enables him to make the purification arrangements to overcome even such brahmahatya, even such big offenses. Because he's very dear to the personality Godhead. And why? Not because he, from time to time gets carried away and makes big offenses. He's actually a very elevated personality. That's how he got the post. One doesn't get the post without being a very elevated personality. And Vishnu recognizes that, and he shows kindness because he knows what's, beneath the surface. That's my understanding of how things get rectified, by the mercy of Vishnu, recognizing the nature. He recognizes the mistakes, he scolds him for the mistakes, and he provides the means to overcome the problem that's created by his mistakes. He has a special place in his relationship with Vishnu because he's very qualified. And he can, and he does, follow the indication of Vishnu and becomes, corrected from the mistake. And then he goes and makes mistakes again. Here's a real simple, how he does what he does is not what your question is. It's due to his pride. Here's a math formula. Fruits of piety plus a heart that's impure equals pride. He does what he does because of pride. He is more than just material piety. He's an exalted person. But he's not in Vaikuntha yet. He's in the heavenly realm. He's the king of heaven, and he's proud. Because his heart's not pure yet. So he does bad stuff. But Vishnu recognizes this part over here, and he corrects him with this part over there. The prideful behavior. That's my understanding of how it works.
But he's more, I feel that he is more exploiting that because he got the Narayana Kavacha and then Vishwarup.
It's not by his expertise he got anything. It's by mercy.
But Vishwarup did not do anything much. But was just supporting demons also. But that's why he killed it.
Well, he's supporting a family member. That's what he was doing. And he wasn't completely pure either. He was a family member.
Yeah.
He should have known better, but he, just had family affection.
And we had a lot of discussions on it. Too much politics there also. And then there is no compassion with nature. And a lot of
Yeah, that's what exactly we thought.
Yeah.
Like in a You are very
You like it.
favorable.
This is just, you guys are doing exactly what Prabhupada wanted. And the bewildering part is because our consciousness is not pure. We don't see Lord Vishnu's hand behind everything. So like, what's this? That's not right. I wouldn't do it that way, and I would do it that way.
Then we go.
That's our relationship with Krishna. That's the problem, right? But you're discussing it. It will help you get further purified. That's the idea.
We think morally, most of the time when we read purport, morally this is not right. Yeah, we said we don't see the hand of.
And don't superimpose your morality on the one who is not subject to your morality.
No, but we also boil down the way the culture of India, that is the Sanatana Dharma, that is the culture of India, we were always respect. And in that way, British came and we respected them. And they exploited us. We came all the way there also, we discussed a lot.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Okay.
Because the person says in the verse that if somebody falls at your feet, even that is enemy, you should forgive.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what our forefathers did, and everything is captured. We used to defeat them, and they say, come shelter, and they backstab. So we lost all our wisdom and whatever that is. So how we can practically apply that in our
Read Srimad Bhagavatam. Exactly. I mean, when Vyas saw what he saw, what did he conclude? Got to write the Vedas. And then when that wasn't sufficient, Narada said, you haven't sufficiently glorified. So sufficiently glorify, and that's the panacea. Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhavo Sharatshotra Manobi Ramat. Keep going, reading up Bhagavatam and discussing together politics of India and British. And Give the Prabhupada ki jai.